How closely do you hold your stories? Hi there, my name's Dan.
And I'm Suzie. Together we are Doozy. Welcome to the story I'm telling myself, part 5. This is telling it out loud. We're so glad that you've joined us because we have been trying to slow down enough to hear our inner narrative, our inner stories we're telling ourselves, question the script, and choose a freer, truer story. Last episode, we talked about changing the narrative. So if you haven't heard that one, you might want to flip back and hear that one if you have a story that's going on that you want to change up.
So I invite you to notice, name, and rewrite the story you're telling yourself.
Telling it out loud. Healing happens when stories are shared safely. Do you feel when you are telling your stories or you're sharing things that you have good listeners, that you have people who are safe enough to tell the story to? So important to release unedited stories to trustworthy listeners. So these are stories that maybe aren't formed. They're not ones from the past that you know how to present them, but you are a work in progress and you're telling your story out loud.
Now, I want to remind you that what we're looking at is a story we're telling ourselves, but oftentimes that can be clouded and we don't know what the truth is. So what we're asking is you take time to take that story you're telling yourself and tell it out loud to others. And you release that. And many times the connected stories happen in relationship.
Yep.
You saw something and you felt something and someone else says, yeah, me too.
Yep.
Me too.
And telling it out loud allows you to review the stories from the outside in. So you tell the story and you kind of see it being told. You're telling it, but you see it. And that allows you to reflect and know what's going on in the midst of your story.
Yeah, it's like sort of having a mirror.
Yeah.
And several people around telling stories, you get a much better picture of what actually happened or what should have happened. And that's a beautiful thing to be vulnerable enough to share that, because unspoken stories gain power.
Is that good?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Sometimes you and your story will be saying something negative about yourself or someone else, and it grows and it grows and it grows, when in fact
It's stronger.
it was just a little thing.
Yeah.
So be careful of that.
Spoken stories lose shame. So the shame is I am wrong, where guilt is I did something wrong, and shame is I am wrong. So if you have that feeling about that, that's one of the stories you're telling yourself, and you speak a story out loud, it loses its shame because it's no longer in silence. We heal in relationship, not isolation. We don't have to be alone in our healing process. It's important to tell it out loud.
Listening is one of the greatest gifts you can give to another person. And to have someone listen to you, wow, that's awesome. And listening without fixing creates safety and clarity. It also deepens empathy and your connection. Listening does so much for you when you listen to others, but also when people listen to you.
Yeah, so if you have someone who's an active listener, which Dan is growing day by day and being an active listener in, he is really great. He knows, and sometimes I ask him, like, how can you listen even though you know the solution? You know what it would take to fix that situation. How can you listen with that and not offer that up? And I think that's what active listening is. You're telling it out loud to a person who's not going to interrupt, who really has your heart, your best in mind. And it's a gift that they give to you, especially when they don't fix. And that does definitely create safety. It helps you clarify what's going on, and it deepens the empathy of somebody to you. It deepens the empathy for yourself, and it helps you form a bond, a connection with those that you're telling your story
Suzie asked
to.
a question in the midst of that, and it was, how do I listen without fixing? The reason I do that is because so often I tried to fix before she realized it was broken. And it wasn't a good thing.
So true.
I got there too quick. And what I need to do is slow it down.
True. Here's some scientific story thinking. Social neuroscience says co-regulation happens through safe connection. So this is co-regulation of a calming presence, a bit more peaceful. If you're in a safe environment, then your body is not wiring for safety, for fight, flight, freeze, fall, faint. It's not going to do all those things. It's safe so you can co-regulate and you can process the story in a safe situation. Shame research by Brené Brown, one of my heroes in this area, she says secrecy fuels shame. So if you're alone, if you're silent in it, it fuels shame. And telling it out loud is going to decrease the power of that shame. And attachment theory, secure bonds allow honest expression, especially when it's a healthy attachment, warm, inviting, with active listening, then it sets the stage for honest expression.
In James 5:16, it says, confess so that you may be healed. And it actually says, confess your sins to one another so that you may be healed. But I put the dots there and just paused it because if you look at the Greek word here
for sin,
it actually is to miss the mark. And oftentimes in our thinking and the story we're telling ourselves, we've missed the mark. We've moved away from what is true into something else. And it's so good at that time where we have gone astray in our thinking, just like in our practice. We need to confess that to one another because when we do, I'm sorry, Suzie, I saw that totally different than you did. I'm sorry I jumped to conclusions. I missed the mark. My brain was telling me something else. When I confess that, we heal. And that's a really important principle.
Galatians 6:2 says, carry each other's burdens. You do this through active listening. When you provide that safe environment, allows others to share the story out loud. You're carrying the burden. They don't have to have it only in their own two hands, in their own heart, in their own mind. You're helping carry the load.
Yeah. And in Psalms, I love it because it's a whole bunch of unedited storytelling between God and us. I find it wonderful that one psalm, David's at the top of the world, couldn't be better. The next, it's like, oh God, just kill me. You know, but
it bounces.
That's the way we go. And we need to allow those stories to come out that we shared. This is how I feel right now.
All right, telling it out loud. I'm going to throw some questions your way, and you just give me the response to it, okay? So when we're thinking about telling it out loud, what makes someone a safe listener?
Ooh, what makes someone a safe listener? I think a safe listener for me is when you talk and they don't, and you know that they're not thinking at the same time that they're listening, because when you're done, there's a pause. So it's listening with a pause before they actually respond. And they don't come back with, well, me too. I found, they don't diminish your story by quickly putting their story in. They empathize and they come alongside and they match maybe where you are emotionally. And maybe, and even better, they ask a question so you can tell a little bit more. That's a good listener.
So that's a safe listener. They're not all about themselves. They're trying to like, oh yeah, me too, it up. Or like have a story to top that one, but they are actually having you as the person that they're focused on.
Right.
And deeper questions, and that makes it safe for you. Yep. How does being heard change your internal story?
Well, when I'm being heard, I feel like that my story is actually important. And it changes up because as I say something and then they speak into the process, I begin to learn more. It's like a piece of paper that just begins to unfold. Oh, there's more. Oh, there's more. Oh, there's more. And when I'm heard and they speak into the story I'm telling, I get a much clearer story.
All right. What blocks you from sharing honestly?
Well, a lot of people I know aren't good listeners. And so I begin to tell something, I begin to share something I'm thinking, and they start talking, or sometimes even they turn and walk away.
That happens, doesn't it?
And when that happens, when I realize they just want to be heard, I simply stop.
Yeah. I think what blocks me from sharing honestly is a time orientation. I'm an external processor, so I probably haven't thought completely about it. And so if I'm in a time crunch, I'm not going to throw out my story to someone.
Sure.
So I need to know that there's like uninterrupted time. And so often I have found recently, I've said, hey, could we have a coffee, or could we have a bit of time? I want to process this. Or Dan and I, for example, when we're driving to one of our appointments, I say, hey, could we talk about this? And I know I have from here to the destination, and that gives me a time slot to be able to do it in. I think the same for you. As you said, if somebody's interrupting me, or you say something and as soon as like I take a breath, then they're like telling their story. Sometimes it's completely different than what I was talking about. I know that they're not listening. Or if there's some sort of a judgment of me without like actually knowing what my story is about, and they're trying to like fix me or tell me which direction to go, or tell me, you shouldn't do that. That stops me from sharing.
I think
honestly.
there's also a tool that Suzie and I use. When she starts telling me something I can tell is really, really important to her, I have to know how she wants me to listen. Not just that I'm listening, but how does she want me to listen. So I will actually say to her, Suzie, just wait a second. Do you want me to listen in order to fix something, or do you want me to listen just to hear what you have to say?
And often I have no clue, so I say, why don't you just listen to what I have to say, and you'll probably know what to do, so then you can help me fix it.
Because if I have to fix it, my brain is engaged. I am just trying to listen to everything and find the point, the fix. But it's so much better when I just listen.
Yeah, listeners, you want to tell it out loud, but you have to have good listeners to be able to tell it out loud. Here's a few questions for you to process personally. You can think about them, you can journal them, or you can talk with your trusted friend or your partner about that. Who are my trustworthy listeners? Do you have?
Name them one by one.
Do you have those people? And if you don't, who could be them? Who are they?
This week I had times with 6 people that were my trusted listeners, and it felt so
gift.
good. It was very good. I took a risk. I went out to eat with a couple of them, and I just shared what was going on, the story I was telling myself, and they listened.
Good job. What story have I edited or hidden? That's a really good question that either I haven't told it because I haven't had trustworthy listeners, people who are safe, active listeners like we've been talking about, or it's shameful, or it's a story from my past or present that I really haven't risked telling it out loud. And so I've edited it, and maybe I just tell parts of the story, but I don't tell some of the big pieces that probably need a change in the narrative. What story is that that needs actually you to tell it out loud to a safe listener?
And what do I fear would happen if I told the truth?
That's a great question.
There are some people that I know that halfway through, they're going to cut in. I know some prayer warriors, bless their soul, but they won't listen to everything. They'll just say, let's pray. Or they'll give me a verse. Or they'll tell me their story. Or they'll walk away. And I fear starting a conversation that really I won't be able to complete. And I'm left hanging with not just what I was bringing to them, but now a bit of rejection from their response.
Yeah. What do I fear would happen if I told the truth? Sometimes I have some deep experiences that have been hidden, maybe not purposefully, but they haven't come out. I haven't processed them. And I do fear what will happen to me. Like, am I in a place where I might cry? Am I in a place where I might feel it really? Might I raise my voice or get a little bit passionate about that piece of my story?
What emotion is going to pop up?
What emotion is going to pop up, and can I deal with it? And can the person who's listening, Dan can usually deal with whatever, but thank you for that. But what will happen if I really told the truth? What do I fear?
Here's a stillness practice. Now you need to imagine. Last week we talked about imagination, which is very important. So this week I want you
Two parts ago,
yeah. I want you to imagine, what will your life be 1 year from now? How will it be different if you told your story out loud? If you literally took the time that some of these clogged up stories, some of these stuck stories, you release to other people. If you did that, if that became your normal, and I'm not talking about monopolizing everybody's time by listening to you, but I'm saying you're vulnerable enough to share it. What would your life look like if that was different in 1 year?
I think that's really interesting. That's a great practice. And you can try to practice that just once or multiple times. Here we come to the end of Telling It Out Loud. This has been part 5 of a 6-part series. Next episode will be part 6 of the story I'm telling myself. And we've invited you to slow down enough to hear your own story, question the script, and choose a freer, truer story by telling it out loud, by having people in your community, by having safe, vulnerable, active listeners that you can actually unpack some of these stories with.
What we're giving you are some growth strategies, how to move forward in a much freer way. And I just want to thank you for taking time to notice, name, and rewrite the story you're telling yourself.
So may you live fully alive as you love your life, your world, and your God.
My name's Dan.
I'm Suzie. Together we are Doozy.
Live fully
and love fully. And if you need any help unpacking some of your story, you need an active listener, a coach to ask you some good questions,
a mentor to walk the journey with you,
please reach out. We would be glad to be on that journey with you.
See you next week.